In this video, we are going to be talking about 6 ways to know if you've been at a company for too long. What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Afzal Hussain. You can find out a bit more about me through the social media links below, or you can check out my website, which is www.afzalhussain.com. For those of you that need advice or help with your CVs and cover letters, be sure to check out CV Doctor. And for those of you who are new here, make sure you subscribe for weekly videos every Wednesday. In today's video, we are going to be talking about 6 points in your career to know when it's time to move on from the current company you are at. The first reason to consider other opportunities or a move or a potential change in your career is when your learning curve in your current role begins to flatten. Now, what I mean by this is when you start a new role, there's going to be lots to learn. There's going to be lots of different things that you don't know. And so most of us, when we pursue challenging careers or ambitious careers, one of the main reasons we do that is because ambitious individuals like challenges. We like to embrace steep learning curves where we can learn a lot and grow, not just mentally but in our work. And so if your learning curve is steep, that's great. But the minute it starts to flatten, you're going to get used to the work you're doing, you're not going to be learning, and naturally when the learning curve flattens, you get bored. And so that's one reason or one thing to keep an eye out for when you are at your work. Now, this usually happens 2 to 3 years in for graduates because they've become a master of the work that they've been doing. When you feel the learning curve's flattened, that's a good time to ask yourself the question of, is it time to consider different opportunities? Now, the second piece of advice I give a lot of students and graduates is the 2 to 5 year gap. So when you graduate from university, your first 2 years into your professional career, you're going to be learning. You're going to be very inexperienced. It's your first 2 years, so try not to move around in that period. And then after 5 years, so we've got 2 years here, 5 years here. We'll talk about the time in the middle in a second, but before 2 years, you're still very junior. After 5 years, you're quite senior, you're quite experienced, and when you want to move, it's going to cost companies a lot of money to hire you because your salary is going to be very high. So that 2 to 5 year gap is the perfect point for you to analyze if you want to make a move, if you want to change company, if you want to move within your company into a different business unit or division. And so that 2 to 5 year gap is very important. So once you hit 2 years, you need to step back and analyze if you are happy with your current role, if the learning curve is continually staying steep or if it's flattening, if you like the culture, if you like your employees, if you like your colleagues, etc. So that 2 to 5 year point is a key point for any young person or any recent graduate to consider whether they need to make a career move. Because once you leave it past the 5 year point, there's a lot more that comes into consideration. You'll be a lot older, you might be getting married, you might have a family, you might have kids, etc. And so that 2 to 5 year gap after graduating is the sweet spot for you to consider a career change. Third way to know if it's time for you to move on is simple. Are you interested in the work that you do? Are you excited to go into work in the morning? Or do you not look forward to waking up and going into work every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning? Do you find the work boring? Are you not engaged at work? That's a simple one. When you start, there's so much to learn, and so you're engaged and you embrace it. But as time goes on, some people continue to have that love for the work that they do, and others, they might get bored of it. And so that's often a good time to pay attention to why it's getting boring for you and why you don't find it interesting. And so that's usually a good point to realize maybe you're growing out of this role and you need a change, whether it's a change in career or change in division within the company. It's usually a good sign. Fourth reason, pay, salary. Relative to the market, are you being paid what you should be being paid? Now, if you believe some of your peers in similar positions at different financial institutions or professional service organizations, whatever it might be, if you believe they're being paid more than you, then maybe it's time to consider an organization that will pay you what you are worth. You need to do your research and find out, speak to some of your peers, speak to individuals in different companies that you know, or do your research online. So there's lots of websites that give you salary information. If you just Google the company, the title of the role, and write salary, you'll get tons of reviews, tons of data and information based on salaries, and you can easily find out what someone in your situation or your position or with your type of experience is getting paid in different companies. So make sure you're getting paid enough. If you're not getting paid enough and you've spoken to your manager about pay and you don't believe they're willing to pay you what you expect you are worth, then that's a reason for you to consider other opportunities. Reason number 5. This is very important, and this is one of the reasons that I kind of decided to start doing my own thing as opposed to staying in the world of banking and finance. Do you love your boss's job? So what I mean by this, and I saw this actually something similar online, it basically focuses on if you're a junior employee, if you look at your seniors and the work that they're doing, when you look at them and that work, does it inspire you? Does it motivate you? Does it excite you about getting there and doing what they're doing? Now, chances are in your first year or two, the answer is going to be yes. But you need to pay attention to your answer to that question. Do you love your boss's job in years 3 and 4? Because those are the pivotal times where you're going to realize if, you know what, this is actually what you want to do, or if it's not. You're going to be on this trajectory where if you stay at the company, you're going to grow and eventually you'll become a VP or MD, depending on how good you perform. But the key question is, do you want to be doing that type of work? Or are there other opportunities at different companies, different divisions, different industries that excite you more, that might make you feel like you're having a bigger impact on the world, that might make you feel like you're solving a bigger problem or providing the solution to a bigger problem? And so you need to ask yourself, in a few years, I'm going to be in my manager's seat or higher up in the organization. Does that excite me? Does my boss's job, do I love it? Does it excite me? And that's a good way to tell if it does, then yes, stay where you are and work towards that. If it doesn't, then there's no point staying because you're naturally tending towards that. So use that as a kind of North Star to determine whether you are in the right seat in that organization or not. And then last but not least, 6th way to know if you have come to your time at a company and need to move on, it's the culture. When you start working for a company, you're quite oblivious. When you graduate, you come in as a 1st or 2nd year analyst and you don't really know about all the mad politics going on behind the scenes. But as you spend more and more time there, all this internal politics, it makes more sense to you, and you'll know what I'm talking about after you do a year and a half or 2 years. If it gets to a point where you're sick of a toxic culture, you don't feel like that organization values you as an individual, it doesn't value diversity, it doesn't allow flexibility. Too many people say, yes, we don't care about FaceTime, we don't care how much time you're in the office as long as you get your work done, but they act hypocritical, or they say things just for the brand, but in reality the situation is different. If you're sick of the culture, if you don't feel like that company represents who you are and what you want in a career, then that's a surefire way to know that you are in the wrong company and you should seek opportunities elsewhere. So 6 reasons: learning curve, the 2 to 5 year point to analyze what you want to do, whether you find the work boring or interesting, the pay, if you're being paid what you're worth, do you love your boss's job, and then the culture of the organization. Once you analyze all those, you will be able to tell if you are happy staying in that seat or if it's time for you to leave that company and explore various opportunities elsewhere. If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It will help me help lots of other students and graduates, so make sure you do that. If you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and thank you for taking the time to watch this weekly video. Tune in next week for a new video and I will see you then. Peace.